This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so this is an introduction about Drupal. I know, I mean, many of you who joined who already might be aware of the Drupal platform. But if someone is new, just this presentation, this slide is mainly for them who was new to Drupal. So Drupal is a free and open source content management framework, and it is being widely used across the globe. And Drupal is currently used as a backend framework for almost like 4.5% of all the websites that are running in the globe. And Drupal is a highly secured CMS platform, and that's the reason it is being used in many government and higher education websites as a content delivery platform. And Drupal's main success is the wide variety of community support that it has. Drupal has more than 3,000 plus active contributors to the Drupal open source community, and it's been constantly being upgraded daily by the contributors. So that's the biggest strength of Drupal. And Drupal on yearly basis, conducts DrupalCon across the globe, and all the contributors gather there, and they discuss about the next year strategies, and come up with more innovative ideas for Drupal. So that makes Drupal the most successful platform in the CMS world. And the next thing is from the administration perspective, Drupal is highly effective for maintaining and administering it, both for the editors and all the other users. The workflow management is pretty easy to maintain and administer in Drupal, and Drupal is also a preferred platform for most of the enterprise customers. So the because of its we have other detailed explanations of why Drupal is being one of the best platforms of Drupal. Like I will walk you through in the coming slides. So that makes Drupal a unique CMS platform compared to all other CMS platforms that are currently being there in the globe. And next, again, like if you have any questions in the period of the presentation, just put it in the chat, and our team will update me, and I myself and Satish can quickly help you to answer any of the questions there. So please stop me and put your questions on the chat window. So now the next thing we are going to talk about is Drupal 8 specifically. Like, what's the difference between Drupal 8 and the previous versions of Drupal? So Drupal 8 is completely a restructured or revamped architecture using a Symfony framework, and Drupal 8 is completely based on OOPs. The earlier versions are not a OOPs-based version, and like Drupal 8 came up with like almost 200 new features that made it very unique compared to the previous versions of Drupal. And like for example, it came up, one of the beautiful features of Drupal is it came up with a built-in web services. So when we say web services, now you can use Drupal APIs to and make it a backend system, and you can make the front-end system with any other JavaScript frameworks or any other frameworks. So you can create an headless Drupal framework with the current Drupal 8 version very easily. And it also came up with a new theme engine called Twig, which made Drupal to load faster, and also the customer experiences have been widely improved with the new theme engine of Drupal. And it also had a better HTML5 support as well. And it adopted the big pipe technology. So big pipe is basically the Facebook. That is how Facebook used. It was invented by Facebook for loading the pages faster. And Drupal 8 adopted it, and it came as an inbuilt feature in Drupal 8. So Drupal 8 makes the loading time much faster compared to the previous versions of Drupal. And it also have like a JavaScript based automated testing feature as well. And the multilingual support is another successful implementation that Drupal 8 brought in, because when we talk about enterprise, they would tend to sell it across different clients across the globe. They would like to have multi stores with multi language support, and Drupal adopted that quickly in Drupal 8 as an inbuilt feature. And it also has a beautiful CK editor and layout builder, so you can also do direct editing, inline editing, without going into the backend and instead of doing a node-wise editing, you can directly edit through the current editor platform that Drupal 8 has brought in. And it also through Drupal 8, you can also, since it has an built-in web service feature, the integrations with other platforms is much easier compared to the other versions of Drupal. That's all about Drupal 8. I mean, I just highlighted some of the key features, but Drupal 8, as I said, it has more than 200 features, new features that has been added in Drupal 8. Now let's see why Drupal 8 is the best fit for enterprise solutions. The first thing is security. So Drupal, we already know it's a highly secured platform, but Drupal 8 has added more secure features, and it's currently being maintained by lots of contributors across the globe and with the active community. And many government organizations prefer and Drupal because of its security feature. And we are going to talk about more like how you can secure your website Drupal 8 site in the coming slides. And we're also going to share our approach of doing that. And one big example is like NASA is also using Drupal. The main reason for them is like because of the security feature that Drupal 8 is having that is built in. And the next thing is the scalable environment. Drupal 8 is capable of handling high traffic volume and large amount of content. Drupal is quickly adopting to the e-commerce world of the business. So it has modules called Drupal Commerce to have the e-commerce built in Drupal on top of the CMS platform. And so when we say e-commerce, it's catering it towards the enterprise side of the business. So to handle high traffic volumes in the highly scalable environment. So Drupal is quickly adopting to that part as well. And microsites and multilingual with one platform. So as you said, in Drupal 8, they have introduced almost 110 new languages to Drupal 8. And the best example I can quote is JYSK.UK. They run over 2,000 physical stores in 48 countries using Drupal 8. And next is SEO optimization. Drupal as an enterprise solution provides a number of SEO modules. We have listed some of the modules in the coming slides and going to explain the features of those modules that you can use it for your websites as well to optimize the SEO part of your business. And the next thing is ease of administration and customization. So Drupal allows developers to do their work quickly. The workflow is quite easier, and it has an excellent community support as well. And so every corner of the web application can be handled by providing different roles to different users. So the role-based access is a big success for Drupal. You can create any number of roles with n number of privileges. There is no limitation for that. So these are some highlights that makes Drupal 8 the best fit for enterprise solutions. Now we have seen overall about Drupal 8 and its advantages and features. So now we are going to talk more about our approach in handling Drupal 8. First, we are going to see about the migration process. So the traditional approach in migration is like a D2D model, like it's a database to database model. So that in the traditional approach, people whenever they do migrate, they connect the old version of Drupal with the Drupal 8 version database, and they using modules like Migrate and Migrate UI. They run the migration process. The biggest disadvantage of going with the traditional approach is when you do the migration, the core fields will be moved to the Drupal 8 version. But if the for the all the contributed module fields and any custom fields that has been created in the older version of Drupal, mapping them or recreating them in the Drupal 8 version is the biggest pain point many migration experts have faced. To avoid that, our team has built a tool. So we created a traditional from breaking the traditional approach. What we do is we first create a we set up a Drupal 8 environment, a fresh new Drupal 8 environment in the environment setup, and then we then recreate the configurations, that we recreate the content type, the fields, and all the custom fields and the custom modules. Will recreate them, will install them fresh. We build it fresh on the newly built Drupal 8 module, and then we have created our tool, our own modules for the migration, the exporting the migration process. Using that, we migrate the taxonomy, the data, and also the core features. We migrate them from the Drupal older version of the site to Drupal 8. So this way, what we have done is we have initially created the fields and then we have migrated the data and the modules. Earlier, the traditional approach was like doing it all together. So you have not migrated the fields earlier. So recreating them is the biggest pain point. Now we have first created that using our tools, and then we have migrated the data and other things. So we are just doing the reverse way of what the traditional approach is. And now we could see the significant improvement in the process. The time to do the migration has been greatly reduced, and also the errors on the field mapping has also been greatly reduced. So we have seen a significant improvement and in the migration process after the adaptation of our approach, and we have been effectively utilizing this for many of our clients. And so that is what this slide is all talking about. Breaking the traditional approach and creating our own approach, like a reverse approach to doing the Drupal migration. The next, I'm going to talk about auto synchronization. This is again related to migration. So the initial migration process, like what for migrating the data, first we'll do a backup of the current data, and we'll do the migration, all the other migration process, and at the last we do another data backup from the live site to sync with the current data. So that's how we've been traditionally doing, but we found that's again a pain point, because the final data migration might cause some issue. There is also a problem, we might lose some data when we do the final data migration, because say for a project that's going to take you more than 6 months to 1 year or 2 years, in between these duration, in the older version of the site you might have created lots of new data, and even you have created lots of new content types. So when you need to reconcile all those things at the end, it's going to be another biggest process. So to avoid that, what our team has done is we have done an auto synchronization process. So when we first build the D8 site, we through REST services, through REST API services, using JSON REST API services, we connect the old version like D7, D6 database to the D8 database. Like it's a two-way sync. We connect the old database to the new database, and whenever a new data entry, like any changes, like adding a new content or deleting a new content or editing a new content, is happening on the older version of Drupal, it automatically syncs with the Drupal 8 site through this auto synchronization process. So all through the migration process, even if it's going to take you 1 year, your data is always in sync with your live site. So this makes the reconciliation very easier, and you no need to worry about a biggest reconciliation at the end of the project. So that this has avoided us data migration errors, and we have overcome that using this auto synchronization process. Next, we are going to talk about on the maintenance and security aspect of Drupal. I will move this to Sendil, and Sendil will be carrying over from here.
Hi all, good morning, and thank you, Karthik. Thanks for giving a very high-level idea about the Drupal as well as the migration best practices. And here I would like to start with very high level information, which basically everybody know that the Drupal is a very powerful CMS, where which is hosted more than 700,000 sites, including various domains like government, entertainment, and enterprises. Much more focusing on a bigger implementations. That is one of the very major success of Drupal. And at the same time, where because of it is getting implemented in more bigger enterprises, it is becoming an easy prey for the hackers or the guys who just want to get through the website. So the one of the very primary challenge that the business owners facing is maintaining and ensuring the security of the Drupal website. But considering that Drupal is well known for its security implementation in its core, where they do have a dedicated team focused more on like refactoring the codes and bringing all the best practices and the latest technology, latest implementations coming in the security and releasing it as a security patches and covering up the core functionality. Still, there are a lot of contributed modules being installed in website in order to take care of or implement the functionality that we are intending. And one another major advantages of being with Drupal is its community, where the community is very big, and it helps a lot of business owners as well as the module developers by providing and very big support in completely vetting through the contributed modules and testing the modules to make sure all the modules are bug free. So even after all these careful measures taken by the core developers of Drupal as well as the community members, there is a possibility of few implementations, additional implementation that we might require in our websites to take care of the security. So in order to classify those security measures, where we can come up with the categorization like application level security and server level security. To start with the best practices that we are as a solution providers and solution consultants, I classify the general maintenance activity under the application security as always keeping our Drupal core updated. Since, as I said, lot of hackers or lot of guys who used to focus more on cracking the Drupal security layer, they usually constantly attack the Drupal websites. And with the same brute force, the Drupal core team also providing a lot of support and providing security updates. So it is always advised to keep the Drupal website up to date in terms of security update, as well as with the contributed modules update. And along with that, we also should have a clear idea about the folder permissions. Basically, inside the server, each and every individual folder should have different permissions in order to ensure the third-party modules or the other code should not get access to and sensitive files. That is one another periodic maintenance we should ensure to keep the site secure. Along with that, there is one another very important part is user roles and permissions. The user roles and permissions is very important, where if we have multiple admins or different level of access restriction level people inside our website, that need to be monitored at least 2 weeks once or monthly once, where we should change the access permissions accordingly, or we should disable the users. That is one of the very important area where the guys who are trying to get through our site will focus first. And along with that, there are a lot of few modules where the security kit module, which will help us in identifying without sharing our website data to the outer world by installing a module inside our website, which will give you a complete idea about the health of internal website, which includes accesses, which is cross-site referencing, security, status of our website. All those will be covered under security kit module. So we can have that as a very important or must-have module installed in our website. And following with that, there is one another, I think, is a password policy, where by default the passwords are stored in the Drupal database as a hash password. But again, it is advised to keep that rotated on a periodic time. So that way, that will ensure a very high level security. These are something that we are supposed to have as a general security measures in order to maintain our Drupal website more secure. So the next categorization basically will be a web form. If you look into a Drupal website, obviously there will be one, at least a minimum of one web form will be there to collect sensitive information or some information from the end users. So that is one another very important key area where we should focus, because most of the attack happen through the web forms nowadays. So whenever we build a form, or if in our website if we have a forms, that should be protected well by giving complete measures like the minimum characters it should accept and the maximum characters it should accept, and the level of validation should be a little high, where it should not allow any scripts or any HTML special characters like that, any other additional characters other than what the field is supposed to be received. So that will give, that will take care of a minimum level of security of a web forms. On top of that, implementing in captcha or like a honeypot is one another implementation where which will give a very big security. And again, that is not a completely a foolproof, but that will give us a very high level security for protecting the web forms from hackers. So honeypot is technically a small implementation, but gives a good value, where that will have a hidden field embedded automatically inside the web form. And when any bots or any crawlers try to get into the form, and when it tries to autofill the form, by basically the bots will consider that as one additional field, and it will fill some junk value inside of it. That obviously will be detected by Drupal core, so it will classify as a bot attack easily. But nowadays there are a lot of bots are becoming more intelligent and trying to overcome that, but still that will help us in maintain or securing a web form in much efficient way. And one another very important implementation that we are supposed to do in web forms is preventing the SQL injection. That obviously by bringing the validation in each and every individual field and giving a proper set of instruction what the field is supposed to receive, itself will basically take care. And the third important classification that we consider under application security as a very high level is web services. When we connect our system, our Drupal system, to any third party, the handshake will happen between both the systems via web services. And that is again a very important area where the intruders can easily get into our site and they can keep their malicious code. So whenever we implement any web services, the higher level security implementation should be taken care, and the website owner should get that information clarity from the developers who are getting involved in developing the web service implementation. The very basic implementation that a website, each and every website should have, is having a proper authentication method, which is there are a lot of authentication methods available right now. A basic implementation of an OAuth is will help the site in protecting in good way. And a major implementation flaw some of the people might do when they are integrating is letting the session open indefinitely. That is one another very biggest flaw that should not happen when we implement web services, where the session should be properly contained, and the expiry of a session should be there in the system. That will help in protecting the website wide open to the external world. And when we implement third-party APIs with some trusted vendors or partners, they obviously take care of their security flaws or any additional security implementation, and they used to provide the updates. So basically the updates are something that we need to be more cautious, and we should keep our website up to date, even in terms of code or a contributor, or when we use any third-party integrations into our website. That itself will cover 70 to 80% of our security. And when any healthcare or commerce related applications, if we are having in commerce or healthcare application related, an additional layer of HIPAA compliance will help in protecting the data and making the website more comfortable for adhering to the compliances. That is very important area where we should focus, along with the cross-site scripting. That is something that we discussed in the first level, that is called the XSS attack. So that is one another very important area we should focus when we implement the web services or third-party integrations. So these are very major high-level implementations required in terms of securing our website through application level. But still, this can cover only 80% of the security. The next level of implementation, security implementation, that we are supposed to focus is in the web server where we are hosting our website. And basically, if we use some Drupal based tailor-made hosting services, there is a very high possibility they will take care of few activities that are listed here inside their own package, and they will take care of the maintenance. But most of the case where we will have lot of restrictions when we go with the Drupal based tailor based hosting. So most of the site owners prefer to go with some freehand hosting services like AWS, where the entire security implementation depends on the business owners. For them, these points are like a checklist where it is mandatorily to be followed in order to protect the website, which is nothing but the server root access. That is something that should be protected in a high level, that should not be shared with unauthorized personals. And the second implementation is when we set up a server, basically the server will have its version details along with all the modules and the libraries installed inside of it, that can be easily taken out, or that can be easily viewed through web browsers or some other command prompts using few commands. So always turning off the server signature is one very important checklist point that we need to make sure. And the very important third point is port-wise security. When we set up a server, the server does have a lot of ports, different ports to communicate with the server and files. For example, there's an 80 port. 80 port is quite commonly known as a browser port, where all the request and response will happen through 80 port. So we should come up with a proper security policy, port policy, to ensure the ports are well blocked and the access are restricted only to the authorized devices. For example, there is a very high possibility there will be a system level user which will try to use a high level permission, or it will try to use the entire all ports policy. So that should be properly well protected. And the next steps are periodic maintenance steps are updating our server credentials periodically. We should have a checklist, monthly checklist. Under that, we should rotate the passwords properly. Along with that, nowadays it's becoming we were able to get a lot of authentication support from third parties like Google is providing and a lot of other third parties are providing. We should adapt to any one level of authentication methodology, and we should enable multi-factor authentication to secure the server. And the very important next step is when we have more sensitive data inside our website, SSL certificates are very important and becoming mandatory, where the modern age browsers are now expecting SSL as a very minimum quality to open up a website. Even the Chrome is trying to come up with a very hard policy to block all the websites which doesn't have SSL. So that is one another important implication we should implement in server as well as in the application level. And the next other things are like PCI compliances, making the website as a PCI compliance, and doing regular antivirus scan, and implementing a proper firewall. These are very basic and important mandatory checklists we should follow when we are maintaining our servers. And one another thing that we can do periodically is opening up an access logs and web server logs and checking what exactly the logs is getting printed, where we will get some information. With that, we should take measures to cover up. And on top of all of that, tracking and monitoring the entire server in terms of its health as well as the space availability, and is there any attacks happened recently, and about the downtime. These are all very important maintenance activity that we should do in order to make sure the website is up and running properly. Okay, fantastic. So by taking care of this high level of application and server level security, that will give us an freedom from the hackers, as well as our customers will get a smooth flow access of our website. Okay, so we just like high level we discussed about the security and its maintenance part. And the next part, even after implementing all this security, tweaking the performance of the website is really important in order to serve the website faster to our end customer, because most of the conversions happen when we provide a faster website to our end customers. So Drupal, being a good pioneer in CMS vertical, where they came up with a lot of new implementation in its Drupal 8 version, starting from Drupal 8 versions, where the cache is a very important functionality that gives a website that plays a major role in websites speed, where they brought a basic and core cache inside. On top of that, we can install either varnish cache that will help in loading the website much faster. And as earlier Karthik said, that the big pipe, that is one another very important implementation. They came in loading the pages faster, streamlining the pages and making the load faster. That is one implementation which is like coming as a default feature starting from the Drupal 8.1 version, that is helping a lot of websites in loading faster. And along with the cache implementation, if you take a look of your website by looking into the source code, where you can see number of JavaScripts and CSS are loading depends on the theme and the additional modules that you are using in your website. That is one another very big area where we can focus, and by minimizing that and reducing the identical scripts loading in the website will also help us in loading the website much faster. So we should check these CSS and JS periodically, and we should improve or reduce the weight of the CSS and JS. And one another very important area where we can see or improve the performance of our website is doing or tweaking a lot of things in the theme, where implementing AMP, accelerated mobile pages, will help in loading a different version of our website in the mobiles, considering a lot of users are now viewing the websites and using smart screen in while they are like mobility they are like going, and that will help in from our opening up our website in a faster way. And setting up proper browser cache will help in loading the pages faster. And as a very basic implementation, if we are planning to use any other websites references or any other website inside of our website, avoiding in iframe, because iframe is not advisable in the recent days, considering there is a lot of security implementation problems as well as a performance implementation problems happening. So avoiding iframe will give a good improvement in our page load. The same way, if you look into our website, the usage of image plays a major role, where a proper optimization of image can give a dramatic performance improvement in our website. If our website is something which have lot of images displayed in the website, then this is one very important area where we should focus. By reducing the DPI, we will get a lot of improvement without losing the quality. Nowadays, we are getting a lot of tools available to compress the images without losing its quality and giving a high resolution output. That is one important functionality we can implement. And for sites that does have a lengthy pages, which is supposed to load a lot of contents, lazy loading is one another concept, where at the initial load it will take only a limited amount of content, so that the server will get a proper load and it can serve the pages in a faster way. Then periodically, based on the user input, it will load the next set of information that will help in serving the page more faster. So all of these are a performance implementation or performance optimization technique that we can do from the application side. And by implementing few other additional steps under server, that is coming up with CDN, content delivery network, that will help us in improving the fast of the website. Also, keeping the versions of the PHP and MySQL up to date, that again plays a very major role in bringing the performance of our any website. On top of that, we can also implement some third parties like New Relic, which will give a complete insight about the website performance, the page size, and the network delays. That will help us in getting a clear idea of where our website is, and through that we can improve or focus more on the improvement areas. On collectively, by implementing all these security and few tweaks in the template theme as well as in the server, that will give us complete control of our website in terms of security and maintenance. Yes. These are the things that we learned and we are implementing as then by default functionality when we develop any of our websites.
Thank you, Sindhil. That was a very detailed explanation on the maintenance and the performance of Drupal. So now we have come to the last part of the webinar, that we're going to talk about some of the winning strategies that we have identified and we wanted to share with you. The first thing is like SEO optimization. So what we are going to talk here is, instead of talking generally about SEO, which many of us already knew, we assume, and we are going to give you more insights on some of the modules that we use regularly that have given like effective, we have seen like effective benefits with those modules. We are going to generally talk about those modules first. So the first one is Path Auto module. It basically auto generates the URL path aliases for contents, nodes, and even taxonomies and users. So this will be very useful for URL optimization. And the next module is going to be meta tag. Again, meta tag module auto generates a structured metadata, and it also, if you're using social platforms like Facebook or Twitter, it also creates meta tags for specific for Facebook or Twitter accounts. And the next module is the real-time SEO. This is very this is very similar to the Yoast module. It helps to optimize the content around the keywords, and then it also it optimizes the content in a around the keywords in a fast and a non-spamming manner, and it works well together with the meta tag module. And the next one is the line checker module. This extracts the link checker, I'm sorry. This extracts the links for the content and periodically tries to detect the broken hypertext links by checking the remote sites and evaluating the HTTP response it gets from the request it sends. So it continuously monitors, and it also puts a log. So it is very useful in checking like what links are broken on your website. And the next one is a simple XML sitemap. This is very similar to the sitemap generation module, but this generates a sitemap with the current Google standards, and it also uses the if your website is using a multilingual, if it's a multilingual site, we highly recommend to use the simple XML sitemap for creating the sitemap on your website. So on the right side, we have given like similar best practices. Like you have to always keep your sitemap XML and robots.txt up to date, and make sure your H1 tags image are properly set up, and you just have one H1 tag for per page, and all the images have all tags, and you use user-friendly URLs. Yoast module is, as we talk about, it helps in the keyword optimization on your website. You can use that as well. And the meta tag and path alias, these are modules that help on the URL optimization of your website. And we highly recommend to integrate your website with the Google Analytics, so that you always have the data analytics of your website to see like where your customers are coming and what's your demographics, and how the each of the demographics is performing on your website. It gives more insights on the customers and the demographics, so you can take appropriate actions based on the customer actions on your website. That's on the SEO part of it. Now I'll talk about more on the conversion rate optimization techniques on the website. So like most of the websites, websites should be always high performing. Like we have been talking that we have from the beginning of this webinar. So make your website always load faster. With less than 3 seconds. Three seconds is the industry standard. So make sure your websites are loading faster, and also make sure your website is mobile responsive, and your website loads faster both in desktop and mobile. Because that's very critical, because Google gives a separate score for desktop and a separate score for mobile. So you have to make sure your page speed score is good in both the desktop and mobile, and as well as your website is mobile responsive. And implement predictive search. Predictive search is like when you type in certain keywords on the search bar, it should auto populate or auto recommend relevant, or highly searched contents that are very related to the keywords that the user is typing in. Instead of expecting the user to type in a full keyword, you can auto suggest the contents based on few characters that the user is typing on the search bar. So and because you can also throw some categories in the search bar. There are lots of search modules available, like Algolia. You can use that to improve your search experience for your customers on the website. And the fourth one is implement mega menu. Any user coming to your website, the first thing they're going to do is either they're going to use the search, or they're going to use the menu that your website is having. So make sure your menu is properly optimized, and use a mega menu. Mega menu is like you are divide your menus into different columns, and you can also put images related to the categories on the menu itself. So those structured way of putting the categories with proper alignments helps the user to understand the overall structure and the different categories that you have in your website from the menu bar itself, so they can navigate easily and find what they're looking for quick easily from your website. And and if you are using a e-commerce site, we would recommend to use like a Drupal commerce. We recommend use like a multi-select filter on the product collection pages, because if you have a multi-select filter, it helps the customer to select the different categories or different attributes of the products, and like they can narrow down their search for what they are looking for. So better to have a multi-select filter on the product collection page. The next far most important is integrate your websites, your contents, all piece of your contents with social media, because these days most of the people either come through social media, or they from your website they would like to share the contents that you like. They like your web content, they would like to share the content to other users. So integrate proper social media icons on your website at proper places. And the next one would be like heat maps. Heat maps are modules, like third-party modules you can integrate. It tells you can see the heat map report and find out like where your customers are spending most of their time, like what actions they are doing, like for whether they are clicking a button, or how many users are clicking a button, or where they're how long they are scrolling. Heat map is like an infrared view of your like an image of your web pages. It shows different colors to highlight where the users are spending more time. Like a example, like if it's a dark colored image, it means the users are spending more time there. And if it's a light colored image, there is no, I mean, users are not spending on that particular area of the page. So it helps you to understand your pages better and make changes accordingly. And next is analytics. Track your analytics always, like track, integrate with Google Analytics, and there are also other analytics tools. Integrate with them and track users, what they are doing, how they are navigating from one page to another, where they are bouncing out of your websites. So which landing pages are getting you more traffic, so what kind of content or what kind of category where people highly land upon. So you track all those things and create contents based on the user needs. So that will definitely get you more conversions. And next is personalization. These days people expect more personalized content. So there are there are platforms like Acquia, and also there are other modules you can use to give a personalized experience for the user. For based on their demographics, you can give personalized contents on your website. The next would be like A/B testing. Whenever you make a change to your site, try to do A/B testing on the changes. For example, if you're adding a navigation button, try to do A/B testing and see whether people are really using that button, or if not, you can use you can change the button to another location or position on the website and see how it is working. So always A/B test all the changes that you do. The next important thing is ABM, like account-based marketing. So this is more for a B2B side of your website. The B2B side marketing strategy is shifting more towards account-based marketing. Like account-based marketing is targeting specific accounts within your market and doing personalized campaigns for them. So that is basically account-based marketing. And Drupal 8 has been effectively, you can integrate Drupal 8 with different account-based marketing platforms like demand-based, Terminus, to make sure your campaigns are personalized for that particular account and you get more conversions from the B2B side of your business. The most important thing here is try to understand the platform that you choose and make sure that the platform is having a very good API, well-maintained API. So because that's very important for an account-based marketing campaigns. So definitely we are also planning to do a separate webinar covering only the conversion rate optimization on the Drupal 8 sites. That mostly is going to be our next webinar. So, but these things on a high level, if you try to implement on your website, you would see significant improvement on the conversion rates on your website. So that's pretty much, we have come to the conclusion part. Like we have done with the webinar. Now we open this part of time for questions. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat window. Uh, that's pretty much from our side. So we have a question like, what is the time frame to migrate the website from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8? And there are multiple factors to determine the timeline. I mean, each website has its own complexity. We need to understand like the volume of data that the particular website has, and the different contributed modules that the website is using, and on the third-party integrations that the website is using, and also the like the complexity or custom coding that has been added to your website. And so there are lots of factors that determines the time frame. But typically we would say, if for a small scale website, we would say somewhere between three to 4 months, and if it's going to be a medium based websites, somewhere near 6 months. If it's going to be enterprise, it's going to take much time, more than a year also, based on the website complexity. Any other questions? uh, it's it's the December 2020, November 2021. That's I mean, the question is, I'm sorry, I forgot to read the question. The question is, what is the Drupal end of life? Drupal 8 end of life is November 2021. And they are going to move on to Drupal 9. But again, you cannot jump to Drupal 9 directly. Drupal 9 is just a version upgrade from Drupal 8. First, you have to migrate to Drupal 8, and then you have to do a version upgrade to Drupal 9. So that's the workflow. You cannot jump from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9 directly. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, of course. I mean, the question is for high availability Drupal sites with rich media content like video streaming. What are the good managed hosting strategies? Pantheon. Yeah. I mean, Pantheon is a very good platform. Of course, like we are also partners with Pantheon. Pantheon is highly catered for Drupal and WordPress, and Pantheon supports very good, video, media, rich media content websites. And also, you can look for Acquia. Acquia is also another platform that's very good for rich media content, and extremely designed for Drupal hosting. Yeah. I mean, that's again these days. I mean, Acquia has acquired Drupal as well. Uh, Thank you, Mark. Thanks for the compliment. Any other questions? Definitely, yeah. So for all the persons who attended the meeting, we will be sending you the recording link of this presentation, and also we'll be sending you the next webinar details as well. Welcome. We'll give you, let's wait for another 10 to 20 seconds for the questions, and if there are no questions, we will end the session. Thanks everyone for joining, and we had a great time, and we hope that this session has helped you in some aspects. So we'll definitely we'll send you the emails of the recordings, recording to all your email addresses, and we'll also send other notifications if we for the next webinars and the presentation from our side. Thank you.